Hey everybody, it's Doom here from Dungeons and Doom Biscuit. I'm making a new gang for my futuristic sci-fi game. So first I want to make a base for this because this is going to be a size large dude. And you could probably use a HeroClick base if you wanted. It's sturdier, but I'm not going to. So let's pop this dude off this base. And to do that, I got my snippety snippers. Let me get in here. I don't know why I'm even wasting my time with that. I don't need that part. I just need the top part. All I need is his shoulders up. Alright, so I want to make a gang called the Immortalz with a Z. And I better write that down before I forget, because my memory is crap. And I've lost all my pens and markers again. Let me look in my drawer. Here we go. Okay, so the Immortalz are essentially people who have undergone a cybernetic process, making them part mech, part person. So that they never really die. But the truth is they can still be killed and they still can die. They just think they won't. Will that fit inside there? Yes, it will. Cool, 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 cool. Now I want to put a little groove in that to make it look like plates. So you might not see that in the final product. So I don't even know if that's worth doing. I've been doing that a lot lately and it seems to have no yield. But just in case. Now these poker chips are not 2 inches, but they're adequate for showing that something is larger than normal size. So they work very well for those kind of projects. I'm going to get this here. I'm going to put a dibby dab of glue on that, just to stick this base to while I work. Okay, so the first thing I need are legs for this dude. So you could look in all a million parts of toy bins or whatever you have to make something for legs. I'm not going to get that fancy. I'm just going to use some stuff I have laying around here. So I have some pieces of sprues that I've cut off. And this is a piece of a square dowel. I'm going to use this piece of square dowel for his feet. Then I just want to cut that so those are about the same length. I'm using the very official measuring process of holding it up to it. I do want the tips of these to be curved down somewhat, so for me to do that, I'm just going to get this knife and kind of do it in like a drawing cut, maybe you'd call that. And those don't have to be perfect by any means. However, you want it to be kind of noticeable what you're trying to accomplish. Okay, now for my feet, I'm just going to glue those onto the base like this, at kind of a spread out angle, so they look like a natural, almost realistic posture. Now for my legs, I think the easiest thing to do would be to use toothpicks. I'm going to grab some toothpicks. That's probably more than I needed. I want my legs to be kind of long. So I'm going to cut 2 pieces of toothpick about the same length. And I'm going to use the same method, holding them up next to each other. I'm going to bend them kind of in half, like that. And I'm going to sturdy this up with a dibby dab of hot glue. Okay. Just like that. Okay. We want those mounted in there. And probably the smart thing to do would be to pin drill it. So I'm just going to put these at a bit of an angle and make a bit of a notch to set those in so that the glue stays a little better. Something like that. Nothing too fancy. You don't have to pin drill these, really. If you put a little bit of baking soda and super glue on there, it'd probably be just as good. I'm going to get a tiny dab of glue in each one of those holes. Just like that. One. Get my leg. I'm going to twist it inward some so they kind of meet up at a crotch. Same thing on this side. Oh, not enough glue. Too much glue. That's okay. And like I said, I just want to kind of have those meet up at somewhat of a crotch. Okay. Let's grab a smallish bead to shove in there. And I want to cut that bead in half. Something like that. Now if I can get this up underneath here the way I want, there we go, and I can. Look at that, I have the technology. What I'd like to do is kind of get something going like that and let it cool and have a flat base to work from. We'll let that cool for a moment. Let's grab something to be his torso. So one of the best things to probably use for a torso would be any kind of broken toy bit or anything, pieces of cardstock. I'm going to make my torso, though, myself. So to make my torso, I'm getting this little counting block from the Dollar Tree. See that? And I'm going to make a little tiny box. Well, let me see what I have laying around. There might be a better choice. Ooh, that might work. Not the way I want, though. Let's see if I can cut that off. That might work perfectly. Let's scrap that and use this. Okay. I want to cut this kind of flush on the bottom. That should be pretty good. I'm going to snip off this little teeny piece here, just like that. I'm going to mount that on there like that. So to mount that on there, I'm going to get a tiny dab of glue. I'm going to sit that on there, just like that. And I'm going to lean it back a little bit so that he's kind of, his posture is vertical. All right, sweet. Now, let's take a break from that and let's sturdy everything up from this point on. So as we add more weight, nothing comes loose. So I'm going to get a little bit of glue here, in the back, in the front, I mean, and a little bit in the back. I'm going to run it down the legs, onto the feet, just to make it sturdy. Back up the front of the legs. Okay. I'm going to get my baking soda. Boosh. don't want this popping off the base, actually. I'm going to get a little bit of scuzz around the feet with this. That'll make it more permanent. Pretty sturdy. I am going to do the front of this feet a little better. Okay. Let's set this off to the side. All right. I'm going to get a little toothbrush. Well, that's a regular size toothbrush. And just knock away any loose bits of baking soda, so it's not a problem during our paint job process. Cool. Now we want the head to sit in here flush so that the shoulders are kind of up. So what I'm thinking is, if we have something small we can shove in there to fill up some of that space. There we go. Something like that. And we'll let that cool for a minute. Let's start making some arms. And to make his arms, I want his arms to be kind of longer than his legs. That's not a good thing to use. And I want the forearms to be kind of like longer than the biceps area. So I'm going to come back here a little bit and just bend those up like that. And then we're going to sturdy those up with a little bit of glue around there. Just like that. Okay, that'll be the arms. We're gonna need some kind of shoulders to mount this. Let's look for tiny beads. I do have a thing of tiny beads here somewhere. Maybe. No good. Here we go. Got some little tiny wooden beads in here. That will be perfect. Okay. So to get these mounted, on, ideally I'm just going to put them on the end of something sharp. Oops, not like that. So I don't lose them. Oh, come on, get off there, you. There we go. Let me get that in place. I'll do the other side about the same. Okay. And this time I'm going to be a little smarter about it and not use that little thing and just burn myself instead. Now we want that to stay sturdy, so we'll get a little bit of glue on each of those to make them stay. And we'll sprinkle some baking soda on that. Okay. I lost an arm over there. There it is. Now I'm going to get my arms in. Let's get my arms in. I'm just going to mount them to the sides. Those are a little longer than I wanted, now that I'm seeing them on there. So I'm just going to take these. And I'm going to snip some of the back off. I'm going to snip some of the front off. I'm going to hold them up again and see if they're how I like. There we go. That's what I wanted. It's moving around all crazy. Okay, we got one on there. Let's get the other one on there. Okay. Okay, now we need some hands. Arms are looking pretty sturdy-ish. I'm going to get a little more glue on this just to make them sit nice. Make sure that they're sturdy, sturdy, sturdy. Now this guy could be 400 or 500 years old easy. We don't know. So we don't want to assume that he's not had some work done. So let's start out by armoring him up and making some cool decor for him. So let's start with a beat up chest plate. Now, not all of these Immortals look the same. They all have different styles of mechs. So if you make one that you like and one that you don't, you can always go back and ignore the ones that you don't like as much. And all you're doing is taking pretty much the hero clicks you're not going to use for much else, or any kind of miniatures you're not going to use for much else, and just stealing their head and shoulders or whatever parts you're going to take. So this is a good use of those kind of guys. All right, so we want a hand on there. I have a bunch of plastic soldiers and stuff that might be good for that. Like I have this dude. I don't know what I'm going to use his hands for, but now I do. They're going to be hands for this dude. Now I'm going to save the rest of that because who knows what I could use that on. So I'm going to get my thumb in there. I'm going to get a dab of glue. And I'm going to shove that on the end of that hand. Just like that. And get it into a cool position. I'm going to be a little smarter this time. I'm going to get my glue there first. It might not be smarter now that I'm thinking about it. Because if I can't pick up that hand, I'd be in a world of hurt. Okay. I'm going to clean up any loose glue over here real quick. Sweet. I'm going to get a little dab of glue on the hands to hold those in place forever. Just like that. Oh, come on, you. Give me some glue. There we go. We'll let that run up the arms. All right. So I think some shoulder pauldrons of some sort might look cool. So I'm just going to cut a real thin piece here. I'm going to cut 2 pieces out that I can curve. That'll be roughly the same size. I'm going to curl those a little bit. Like that. And I'm going to put a dab of glue in here. Put it on there like a pauldron. Like that. I'm going to do the same thing on this side. Just like that. Now I'm going to put a couple bibs and bobs on here to pimp this out, and you can do the same. And I'm not sure exactly how they're going to look, but for now I know I can put some studs, so I'm just going to get a piece of cardstock. I'm going to dabble it with a little bit of super glue. Let me get my poker and my little bead things. Now these little bead things, if you've never watched before, come from those little paintings that you do, the gem paintings. And if you don't have anybody in your family that does these where you get extras, I understand. But I will say this, if you go to like Walmart or somewhere and get these on clearance and use every little bead it comes with, you'll never need another one again. One pack of these lasts forever. At least that's how it feels. Oops, having trouble grabbing them today. Okay, I'm going to wipe this off. Back. Put one on each pauldron on the top. Maybe, if I can get it. Oh, I lost it. All right, that lives in the glue now. I'll wipe that off again. Grab a different one. A little bit ridiculous. No weapon system, though. No weapons. Can I put one of these in his hand? Not really. Maybe some kind of gun on his shoulder? I don't know. Let me look at what I got. Just looking at my drawers for weapons. It could work. kind of big and silly. That would have been a good arm. Oh well. Alright, this comes from a, like a hors d'oeuvres or hors d'oeuvres kind of deal. And I think I can skim that up to fit in there, maybe. Let's see if I can just loosen that up a little bit with some heat. Get that, oh, I'm breaking the arm clean off, aren't I? Yes, I am. Alright, I think I can get that in there like that. Maybe burn myself a little bit in the process, but that's okay. As long as we get it on there, like, you know, so it stays. Got super glue on my hand? Of course I do. Okay, let's try this again. Now I have to remount that hand. No problem. All right, a little bit of super glue. Spider webs. Shouldn't be too many. Okay. I want to get some of these on the base. And to do that, I'm just going to set them there. And I'm going to get a little piece of cardstock on there. And I'm going to bend it up a little bit. Just to add some 3D stuff there. I'm going to get a little piece of plastic. I'm going to use tweezers to do this so I don't get my fingers all up in that glue. I'm going to grab this little piece of plastic, shove it in there. I'm going to drag that around. That's just going to add a piece of 3D to the base. That's all that's doing. Now I'm going to get a little piece of cardstock and just kind of wipe some of this excess super glue away to dry it up some. Just like that. Rub it around on the base. Let's put that away. Now let's paint this dude up. If I can find my lid to my baking soda. So, as a member of the Immortalz, this is not a good guy. This is a bad guy. Their goal is to outlive everyone, and to kill those that must be killed, and to pretty much take revenge on the world for not doing what they wanted. These people started out as wealthy people that were able to do this, but over time, their wealth has dwindled as they become more heinous and done more things they've had to pay fines for, and eventually got kicked out of society as we know it. Now, normally, if I were painting a miniature, I would not do it the way I'm about to show you. This is not the best way to paint a miniature, but this is definitely a fast way. I'm going to get 3 colors of paint. I'm going to get metallic brown. Get a dab of that on here. You don't need a whole bunch. This is a very small mini. I'm going to get a little bit of this reddish brown. There we go. And I'm going to get a little bit of this elephant gray. Just like that. Okay, we're going to start with this, and we're going to work our way around, trying to make this a little cooler. Let me wipe my hand off. I just got paint on it. All right, cool. Crappy brush, water. I want to kind of get them all over-ish. Like this. Something like that. I wouldn't worry about the head too much. But you want to get the arms and feet and the body. Okay. You want to get your water, a little bit of that red. You want to kind of dab them around and create some variation. Focus on more on the base and less on the body. You can get that brown and that, make a metallic, horrible guck. You want to kind of leave that on some of the flatter surfaces. Now for his head, we want to get a small plastic, when I say plastic, synthetic bristle brush, something like this. There's some gunk in there. And you want to get white paint. Check this out. We're going to do it real easy. We're just going to get a little bit of white. Just like that. Pow. You want to wipe a lot of that off. Just like this. And you want to kind of lighten that up. Hit the shoulders a little bit. Get a little bit more. Something like that. Okay. We'll come back to that in a minute. Let's let it dry. Let's hit him with the air gun, actually. Alright, so we want to get a tiny, tiny brush, or the kind of brush you would paint a miniature with, really. And I want to get a purple color, and I want to put it down in the cracks around him. I want to paint this part where he sits, all purple, like he's sitting in purple ooze. That's good enough. Then we want to paint his armor up, like his suit was once, like his mechanical suit was once something nice. I'm going to use, oh, I want to use red so badly. I'm going to use this blue color here. This is called Laguna. I don't think this coat's very nice, but that's okay for what I want. Now I want to get my Laguna, and I want to kind of spread it around on my brush. I don't want this to be perfect. I don't want to get it on the edges of the metal plates because I want it to look like it's been rubbed off in a lot of places. It's faded. It's not been maintained. And so like a stippling or dabbing and some smears could be the best way to do that. Something like that, probably. Let's do those little hands. Put a little bit of paint. Most of that's going to be gone and rubbed off. Okay. Sweet. that little piece of metal on his base. One of those little pieces of metal on his base anyways. Just to add a different little bit of color real quick. I'm going to get a little bit of orange. I'm going to roughly add color to that because I want to, and I can. Now, before I do anything else, I need some bright yellow. I'm going to put an eye on his chest, which means he's an immortal. Oh, drop my brush. Oh, it's flying around the room. Okay, I meant rolling around on the floor. So for my eye, just like that. Okay. Let's get a little bit of silver on here to show he's beat up and stuff, and then let's work on his face. So to get that silver, I'm going to use that small synthetic brush and a metallic. Okay. I want to really just hit around edges and stuff where it's really beat up. I want to make sure I get those rivets to make those pop a little bit. Any places where you feel like he's taking some serious battle damage, add some of that silver. Around his hands, tip of his spear maybe would be good. That might actually be nice to just paint silver. It's probably always got all the metal rubbed off on it. Cool. Now I know you should use tape or something so this doesn't absorb, but since I'm going to do it so quick, I'm not worrying about it. This is just speed paint warrior skin. My brush is damp from my mouth. Cool, cool, cool. For his shirt, it was once like a business suit. I'm gonna get this tidal wave blue. I'm gonna intentionally miss the collar or the tie and the undershirt. I'm just hitting the shirt, the suit portion. Just like that. Let's dry that off. Getting a little bit of red for the tie. Boop. Just like that. Bring it up to his neck. Boop. Let's do his hair. And even though he's kind of a rich businessman, it's still very, very cool if you can afford it or if you have it to have different colored hair. Whenever you get a rebirth, you can pay to have genetic changes done to you, like your skin color or hair color. Skin color is not real common, but hair color can be. It's very expensive, but it can be done. And I don't mean, when I mean hair color, it's even like the hair on your arms, your crotch, everything gets that color when you do that. So I just want to get in here around where the skin is. And do this pink. There's a little bit of neck work I need to get. I'm going to get a very small brush and get in there with the brown. That warrior skin. I'm going to come back on his forehead and stuff and darken him up just a tiny bit. I'm just going to drag that around to make him a little more interesting. There we go. And he is good looking. He might have been a lawyer or something. Who knows? He had some serious money, though. Pink hair, blue suit. Oh, yeah. This dude was loaded. I'd like to thank everybody for hanging out with me today. Please like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell icon. Hey, leave a comment, too. I like those. And all that happy crappy that promotes the algorithmos. You know, that crazy AI that deifically determines the value of a channel. And check out the website and the Discord. Those are linked in the description. There's also a coupon for 25% or discount code for 25% off your first month of Dungeon Swag Minis. If you like making silly projects and stuff like this, keep hanging out. This month we have a contest on Discord like we do every month. And this month's contest is kind of fun. It's a tall building, and there's some more rules about that. It can be a art, it can be a sculpture, it can be, you know, whatever you want it to be. But something like that. I'm going to paint a black ring around here, and then I'm going to take some photos of this and post the video. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.